So last lecture we have seen the critical section, right? Yes, TK, Komal, are you there? Akshay.
Yes, sir.
So last lecture we have seen what is the critical section. So in process of synchronization, critical sections play the main role so that the problem must be solved. So when there is a critical section is there and we have to solve that particular critical section problem, at that time process synchronization play the important role to solve the problem of critical section. So some of the methods which solve the critical problem or which solve the critical section problem, that is first is deadlock. So one by one we see what is the deadlock, how that particular deadlock solve the problem of critical section. So operating system use the different resources and it use resources in the following way. Request a resource. Abhi, when operating system want to give a particular resources to the processes to execute their instruction in that particular processes, so at that time operating system give the resources to the different processes, the some method to give the resources to the different processes, that is request the resources. For example, अगर प्रोसेस पी है, अगर उसको इनपुट डिवाइस चाहिए या आउटपुट डिवाइस चाहिए या कौन सा भी रिसोर्स चाहिए, तो पहले उस प्रोसेस को क्या करना पड़ेगा, that particular process has to send the request, means this task is done by the operating system. ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम को क्या करना पड़ेगा, उस जो रिसोर्सेस है उसको क्या करना पड़ेगा, पहले मैसेज भेजना पड़ेगा, हैज़ टू सेंड द रिक्वेस्ट फॉर द दैट पर्टिकुलर रिसोर्सेज कि वो रिसोर्सेस उस प्रोसेस को चाहिए एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए. So first thing, request a resource, then use the resources and release the resources. तो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम को पहले मैसेज भेजना पड़ेगा, वो रिक्वेस्ट भेजना पड़ेगा रिसोर्स को, वो रिसोर्स चाहिए वो पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस पी को एग्जीक्यूट होने के लिए. देन पर्टिकुलर पी प्रोसेस उस रिसोर्स का यूज़ करेगी. Either it may be input device, it may be output device, or it may be another devices, or it may be another resources that particular process we want for its execution. So operating system पहले request भेजेगा, दूसरा सेकंड स्टेप है वो यूज़ करेगा उस रिसोर्स को. वो क्या यूज़ करेगा, जो प्रोसेस को चाहिए रिसोर्सेस, डिफरेंट डिवाइस चाहिए या डिफरेंट रिसोर्स चाहिए तो वो यूज़ करेगा. एंड तीसरी थर्ड प्रोसेस दैट इज रिलीज दैट पर्टिकुलर resources. After executing that particular processes, what are the different instruction in that particular processes, if all are executed one by one, then after completion of the executing the instruction in that particular process, then that particular process release the resources. वो प्रोसेस क्या करेगा, वो रिसोर्सेज का क्या करेगा, रिलीज करेगा. सो we will see the deadlock. So deadlock is the situation where a set of processes are blocked. अभी डेडलॉक कब होता है, अभी एक रिसोर्सों से, मान लो एक रिसोर्स, इट मे बी इनपुट डिवाइस और इट मे बी आउटपुट डिवाइस और इट मे बी अनदर रिसोर्सेस, एंड टू और थ्री डिफरेंट processes want that resources for its execution. और जो प्रोसेसेस है उसको क्या करना है, उस रिसोर्स का क्या करना है, यूज़ करना है. एक साथ ही वो क्या चाहते हैं, वो रिसोर्स चाहते हैं. सो ईच प्रोसेस इज होल्डिंग अ रिसोर्सेस and waiting for another resources acquired by some other processes. So deadlock is a situation where a set of processes are blocked because each process is holding a resources and waiting for another resources acquired by some other processes. अभी एक रिसोर्सेस है और एक रिसोर्स किसको चाहिए, दो प्रोसेस है, दोनों प्रोसेस को एक ही साथ वो रिसोर्स चाहिए. सो इन दैट कंडीशन डेडलॉक ऑकर होता है. जैसे कि हम फॉर एग्जांपल एक रेल की पटरी है और एक रेल की पटरी के ऊपर दो तरफ से क्या आ रहा है, ट्रेन आ रही है। तो क्या हो जाएगा, एक पटरी के ऊपर दोनों बाजू से ट्रेन आ रही है तो क्या हो जाएगा, व्हाट हैपन, कौन बताएगा? यस, अक्षय गोरे। एक भी ट्रेन आगे जाएगी नहीं। सो पर्टिकुलर ट्रेन हैज टू वेट, ईच एंड मीन्स दो दो ट्रेन है उसको क्या करना पड़ेगा, रुकना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि वो आगे मूव हो नहीं सकती। एक तो एक ट्रेन को पटरी छोड़नी पड़ेगी तो दूसरी ट्रेन आगे जाएगी, या दूसरी वाली जो ट्रेन है उसको पटरी छोड़नी पड़ेगी तो पहली वाली ट्रेन आगे जाएगी। अंडरस्टूड? रिसोर्स एक है, रूल मीन्स वो पटरी एक है और उसके ऊपर क्या है, दो रेल 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 है। अंडरस्टूड? So
Yes, sir.
when two trains are coming towards each other on the same track, then there is only one track and none of the trains can move once they are in the front of each other. A similar situation occur in operating system when there are two or more processes and that hold the some resources and waiting for resources held by other. For example, if you see the diagram this particular this, अभी ये देखिए resources वन है यहाँ पे, so that assigned to the process one, ये resource वन है, it may be a device, it may be another resources of the computer. आप मान लो इनपुट आउटपुट डिवाइस होगा या कुछ कंप्यूटर का रिसोर्सेस है, वो प्रोसेस वन को क्या हुआ है, असाइन हुआ है, देन दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस वन वेटिंग फॉर द रिसोर्सेस टू, process 1 waiting for the resources, and particular resource 2 is assigned to the process 2. अभी ये रिसोर्स वन है, ये रिसोर्स वन असाइन किया है प्रोसेस वन को, और ये प्रोसेस वन है, ये वेटिंग है फॉर अक्वायरिंग रिसोर्स टू।
Thầy mua cho tao mới lên.
आपका ये चालू है, किसी का तभी ये स्पीकर चालू है, प्लीज स्विच ऑफ योर स्पीकर, म्यूट म्यूट कीजिए। सो रिसोर्स वन है is assigned to the process 1 and this particular process 1 is waiting for the resource 2। ऑलरेडी ये प्रोसेस वन क्या रिसोर्स वन है, इसको असाइन किया है प्रोसेस वन को, एंड प्रोसेस वन क्या कर रहा है, वेट कर रहा है रिसोर्स टू के लिए, एंड दैट रिसोर्स टू इज असाइन टू द प्रोसेस टू, एंड दैट प्रोसेस टू अगेन वेटिंग फॉर द रिसोर्स वन। सो व्हेन दिस टाइप ऑफ सिचुएशन occur, it is a deadlock condition। डायग्राम दिखाई दे रही है सबको?
Yes, sir.
समझ में आ गया आपको ये कंसेप्ट, व्हाट इज अ डेडलॉक? रिसोर्स
Yes,
वन
sir.
है, रिसोर्स वन है, उसको असाइन किया है प्रोसेस वन को, बट प्रोसेस वन क्या कर रहा है, इट इज वेटिंग फॉर द रिसोर्स टू, और रिसोर्स टू है दैट इज असाइन टू द प्रोसेस टू एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस टू इज वेटिंग फॉर द रिसोर्स वन। सो व्हेन दिस टाइप ऑफ सिचुएशन occurs, that is called as a deadlock। So deadlock can arise in the following four condition: mutual exclusion, so one or more than one resources are non-shareable, only one process can use at a time। अभी म्यूचुअल एक्सक्लूजन कब होता है कि वो जो रिसोर्सेस है वो एक ही प्रोसेस क्या कर सकता है, यूज कर सकता है, means that there is nothing the process that that particular resources will be used by different processes, means that particular resources will be held by different resources। so mutual exclusion होता है तब आएगा आपका डेडलॉक। then second condition, hold and wait, a process is holding at least one resources and waiting for the resources। जैसे कि ये डायग्राम है, एक असाइन हुआ है और दूसरे के लिए उसने क्या किया, वेट किया है, that is in that particular condition you can have the deadlock। then no preemption, a resource cannot be taken from the process unless the process release the resources। and circular wait, a set of processes are waiting for each other in a सर्कुलर फॉर्म, जैसे कि ये सर्कुलर फॉर्म में वेट हो रहा है। सो इन दिस पर्टिकुलर फोर टाइप, इन दिस पर्टिकुलर फोर कंडीशन, the deadlock can arise. So how we can handle the deadlock? What are the different methods to handle this type of deadlock? So there are three ways to handle the deadlock. So deadlock prevention or avoidance, the idea is not let the system into a deadlock state, that one can zoom into each category individually. Prevention is done by negating one of the more mentioned necessary condition for deadlock. So avoidance is a kind of futuristic in nature. By using the strategy of avoidance, we have to make the assumption we need to ensure that all the information about the resources which progress will need are known to us prior of execution of the process. So we use the banker's algorithm, which is the in term a gift from Dijkstra is order to avoid deadlock. So we need to ensure that all information about the resources which process will need and need are known to be in prior to execution of the particular processes. अभी डेडलॉक प्रिवेंशन कैसे कर सकते हैं हम अगर हमें ये पता चला इन एडवांस व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट प्रोसेसेस रिक्वायर्ड द रिसोर्सेस, किस प्रोसेस को कौन सा रिसोर्सेस लगने वाला है, ये अगर हमें एडवांस में पता चल जाए तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं, वी कैन अवॉइड द डेडलॉक, राइट. So, if there is a system that if we know in the prior what are the different processes required what type of particular resource. So, if we know this type in advance, then we can prevent the deadlock in the particular system. Then also deadlock detection and the recovery. So let deadlock occur, then do the prevention to handle its one occur. So we can, if deadlock happen, then we can recover from that particular deadlock. We can remove that particular process, or we can reallocate that particular resources. So we can recover from that particular deadlock condition. जैसे कि कुछ deadlock आता है तो हम क्या करेंगे, उस जो प्रोसेस को है वो प्रोसेस को फ्री करेंगे, या वो रिसोर्स को फ्री करेंगे ताकि डेडलॉक हम क्या कर सके, रिकवर कर सके. सो देर इज अ सेकंड मेथड. Then third method, that is ignore the problem of altogether. So if deadlock is very rare, then let it happen and reboot the particular system. अगर deadlock बहुत rarely आता है तो हम वापस system को क्या करेंगे, reboot करेंगे. So this approach is the uh, this approach is in the both operating system, that is in the Windows operating system you can reboot your system, also in the Unix you can reboot your system, so that that when the deadlock occur you can reboot that particular system. So this way you can means avoid the deadlock, also you can recover the deadlock from your system. So understood this type of deadlock, how you can recover from that deadlock, or what are the different condition why there is a deadlock in the system.
Yes, sir.
So इस कारण से डेडलॉक आता है. अंडरस्टूड सबको फिगर,
Yes, sir.
फिगर दिखाई दे रहा है सबको.
Yes.
प्रांजलि, आर यू देयर? निकिता, प्रांजलि, यस. The next topic, device and file management. अभी फाइल मैनेजमेंट, व्हाट इज फाइल मैनेजमेंट, कौन बताएगा मुझे. हमने देखा है दिस इज द बेसिक फंक्शन ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम, दैट इज अ फाइल मैनेजमेंट. ऑल्सो द बेसिक फंक्शन ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम, दैट इज अ डिवाइस मैनेजमेंट. व्हाट इज डिवाइस एंड फाइल मैनेजमेंट? एनीवन, एनी वॉलंटियर, कौन बता सकता है?
File is the collection of specific information.
ओके, वेरी गुड. देन व्हाट इज फाइल मैनेजमेंट? क्या होता है फाइल मैनेजमेंट में? First,
Sir, it manage hardware devices.
hardware devices.
ये
File
manage
means what?
करता है sir.
What is meant by file?
File means collection of data.
Collection of data. उसका manage करना means
हाँ,
what? What we have to do? If
manage.
anyone says that you have to manage your files, then what you are going to do? Suppose you have the different files. In that different files, you have the data, and you have to organize that particular file. You have to maintain that particular files in the form of directories. उसको मेमोरी देने पड़ेगी, उसको अलोकेट करनी पड़ेगी, मेमोरी डे अलोकेट करनी पड़ेगी, उसको मैनेजमेंट करने पड़ेगा, उसका डेटा ऐड करना आपको करना पड़ेगा. मीन्स यू कैन ऐड अपडेट डिलीट द पर्टिकुलर फाइल. That is the file management, and the primary job of that particular operating system is the file management and the device management. So file management is the basic and important feature of the operating system. Also you can say the important function of the operating system. So operating system used to manage the files of a computer system, and all the files with the different extension are managed by the operating system. Suppose the extension of the file is different. Some files you can save in the computer by dot कौन से एक्सटेंशन होते हैं, कौन बता सकता है मुझे? कौन से एक्सटेंशन होते हैं फाइल के?
.jpg .txt
डॉट टी एक्स टी, डॉट डॉक, और कौन से होते हैं? एक्सेल फाइल होती है, बिटमैप फाइल होती है, जेपीजी फाइल होती है, डॉट जेपीजी, डॉट जीआईएफ, है क्या नहीं? व्हाट आर these are the different extensions. So in file management, that particular operating system is used to save the different file or manage that particular files with the different extension. A file is nothing but it is the collection of specific information that is stored in the memory of your computer system. सो कौन सा भी फाइल होता है उसमें क्या होता है? डेटा होता है. और जो डेटा होता है हम क्या करेंगे? दैट पर्टिकुलर डेटा और दैट पर्टिकुलर फाइल वी आर गोइंग टू स्टोर इनटू द कंप्यूटर system. So file management is defined as the process of manipulating the file in the computer system. We can manipulate that particular file. Manipulate means what? You can create that particular file, you can modify that particular file, you can delete that particular file. That is the manipulation. So you can do the manipulation with the particular file. So this is nothing but the file management, and which is done by the operating system. So there are some of the tasks performed by the file management of the operating system of any computer system. अभी फाइल मैनेजमेंट करना है मीन्स क्या करना है, ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम क्या करती है फाइल मैनेजमेंट में? सो फर्स्ट टास्क इज इट हेल्प टू क्रिएट द न्यू फाइल इन द कंप्यूटर सिस्टम एंड प्लेसिंग देम एट अ स्पेसिफिक लोकेशन, है क्या नहीं? अगर आपको बोला आपका खुद का रिज्यूमे बनाओ या डेटा ये बनाओ, बायोडेटा बनाओ, तो आप क्या करोगे? व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू? You are going to type that particular file, you are going to type your data in the uh, document, understood? That is, you can use the MS Word and you save that particular by dot doc. So you can create a new file in a computer system and placing them to specific location. अगर मैंने आपको बोला एक आपका वर्ड की फाइल बनाओ और वर्ड के फाइल में आप क्या करो? यू कैन हैव योर इंफॉर्मेशन दैट इज योर रिज्यूमे और अ बायोडेटा. तो आप क्या करोगे? जब से आप अपना बायोडेटा टाइप करोगे और वो बायोडेटा क्या करोगे? सेव करोगे. मीन्स यू कैन यू सेव that particular data, that particular file in the computer. It helps is easily and quickly locating this file in a computer system. So when you are storing that particular file in the system, at that time also operating system give you the freedom to quickly access that particular file, also quickly locating this particular file in the operating system. So आपने जहाँ पे वो स्टोर किए, फॉर एग्जांपल यू सेव दैट पर्टिकुलर फाइल ऑन डी डी ड्राइव पे, डी ड्राइव के ऊपर अगर आपने फोल्डर बनाया है, फोल्डर के अंदर दूसरा फोल्डर बनाया और उसमें आपकी फाइल सेव की है. So the job of that particular operating system to locate that particular file very quickly. Also you can search that particular file and you can access that particular file previously which you have saved that particular file in your computer system. So operating system helps easily and quickly to locating these files in a computer system. Then it makes the process of sharing of the file among the different users very easy and user friendly. If you want to share your file with the other users, so easily you can share this particular file with the other user. It helps to store the file in the separate folders known as the directories, and these directories helps user to search file quickly or manage the file according to their types or the uses. So you can save that particular file in the separate folder, or you can say that is the directories. आप उस separate folder में आप सेव कर सकते हो या directory में आप सेव कर सकते हैं, and you can manage this particular file according to their types and uses. So it helps the user to modify the data of the files or modify the name of that particular files in the directory. So if you see the file management, so this is the root directory. If you have root directory, and in root directory you have the different directories, means the folder. So you can save that particular file subdirectory, then file 3, file 4. So have you understood the file management? So how you can store the data, how you can search the file, or how you can manage your file. That is the file management. So these are done by the operating system. You can create the folder, that is nothing but it is the directory. डायरेक्टरी के अंदर आप डायरेक्टरी बना सकते हो, उसके अंदर सब डायरेक्टरी बना सकते हो. और अभी यहाँ पे देखिए, दिस इज द रूट डायरेक्टरी, एक फोल्डर है. इस फोल्डर में आपने क्या बनाया है, डायरेक्टरी 1, डायरेक्टरी 2, डायरेक्टरी 3, मीन्स फोल्डर 1, फोल्डर 2, फोल्डर 3. अब फोल्डर 2 में क्या बनाया है, डायरेक्टरी 2 में क्या बनाया है आपने, वापस सब डायरेक्टरी बनाई है, उसके अंदर 2 फाइल सेव की है. और डायरेक्टरी इस डायरेक्टरी में 2 में, इस फोल्डर 2 में आप फाइल 1 एंड फाइल 2 सेव किया है, और सब डायरेक्टरी में फाइल 3 और फाइल 4 सेव किया है. सो when you have to access this particular file, you can click on root directory 1, then you click directory 2, then you click subdirectory, then you can access this particular file. So how it is possible, you can, means the user can access this particular file for. So it gives the function of that operating system is that, means you can easily create the file, you can easily locate the file, you can add the particular file, you can delete the particular file, you can add the data into that particular file. Means it is a function of manipulation of file, is nothing but the file management, and which is the important task of that particular operating system. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So this is about the file management. So this way you can manage the file. So, so this is the hierarchy. So how you can store the different file at the different location, and easily the operating system give you the freedom to access that particular file which you have stored in the memory of your computer. So there are the different function based on the following concept. So the file attribute, so is the specific characteristics of the file, such as the type, date of last modification, what are the when you have modified that particular file, what is the type of that particular file, what is the size of that particular file, the location on the disk. आपने कभी देखा है राइट क्लिक करके, अगर if you have save a particular file, if you right click on that particular file, then you can have this particular type of data. आपने modify कब किया है, उसका size कितना है, उसका location क्या है. Yes, have you seen the different file attribute? अरे हाँ नहीं तो बोलिए कम से कम.
ये सर किया है.
Okay. So file attribute means file attribute you can have the date of last modification of that particular file. What is the size of that particular file? Where that particular file is located on the disk. So this is the file attributes, and this particular file attributes help you the user to understand the value, the location of the file. File attribute is the one of the most important feature, and it is used to describe the all information regarding the particular file. So it display the all information regarding that particular file. Then there are different file operation in specific the tasks that can perform one file, such as operating and closing, uh, opening and the closing of the file. The file operation, अभी file operation क्या है? Open करो file, file close करो. So these are the different tasks that can be performed on the file, such as opening the file and closing of the file. That is the, you can say, that is the file operation. So all these particular tasks you can do with your file, and that is given by, means that particular freedom is given by that particular operating system to you. So you can have the file attribute, means you can access the information regarding file. You can do the different operation on the file, means open the file, close the file. You can have the file access permission, means you can it specifies the access permission related to the file, such as read and write. You can access that particular permission. You can give the access permission, means whether you can write or whether you can write that particular file. Then file system. So in specific the logical method or file storage in a computer system, some of the commonly used file system include FAT and NFTs, FAT and NTFS. So these are the different file system uses by the different operating systems. That is file system. So the system may contain the feature like assigning the queue document number of for the processing, owner and process mapping to track the various stages of that particular processing, report generation, notes, status, create, modify, copy, delete, and other file operation. So these are the different system that contain the different feature. Then aspect of the file system, that is space management, means file system fragmentation occurs when the unused space or the single file are not contiguous. So space management also is there when you have the file management. अभी क्या होता है कभी कभी when there is a fragmentation, means one file is fragmented or that particular file is stored on a different location, that is not occupying the contiguous memory. So non-contiguously the particular file is maintained. So that is a file system fragmentation. So as a file system is used, files are created, modified, and deleted. When a file is created, the file system allocates the space for that particular data. So some file system permit or require specifying an initial space allocation and subsequent incremental allocation as the file grows. So as files are deleted, the space they were allocated eventually is considered available for use of other files. अभी space management में क्या होता है? Suppose you have created the file, and if in that particular file, for example, there is the word file, you have created one page of your biodata, and after some days, after 4 months, 5 months, or after one day, if you want to add that particular second page in that particular file, then it is possible you can add second page. So this is nothing but the space management. So the file management means operating system uses the file management. It is the basic function of that particular operating system, but that also gives you the space management. So when you want to add some data, you can easily add. So accordingly what type of data, how much data you are going to add in that particular file, that is allow, means you can add the data into the file. And when you can add the data into that particular file, the size of that particular file will be increased. And when you delete the specific data from that particular file, then the size of that particular file will be reduced. So this is nothing but the space management. So this is free space. Suppose you have delete some particular data from that particular file, then that particular free space is available to the other file, and you can use that particular space which you have recently deleted. So that particular space will be free to allocate or to use that particular free memory by the other file. When the file is created and there is not an area of continuous space available for its initial allocation, the space must be assigned in a fragments, and when a file is modified such that become larger, it may exceed the space initially allocated to it, and another allocation must be assigned elsewhere, and the file become fragmented. है क्या नहीं? अगर आपके पास स्पेस कम है या कंटिन्यूस मेमोरी अगर वहाँ पे मेमोरी में नहीं है, तो फाइल क्या होता है, फ्रैगमेंटेशन में क्या हो जाता है, वो फाइल स्प्रेड हो जाती है. देर इज अ इंटरनल मीन्स फाइल सिस्टम फ्रैगमेंटेशन हम उसे कहेंगे. एक जगह पे वो फाइल नहीं रहेगी, दो तीन जगह पे दो तीन मेमोरी लोकेशन के ऊपर वो फाइल क्या हो रहेंगी, फ्रैगमेंटेशन में ये रहेगी, बटी हुई रहेंगी. So you can also add the data and you can also delete the data from that particular file. आप जब डेटा डिलीट करोगे तो स्पेस क्या हो जाएगी, एम्प्टी हो जाएंगी, और वो स्पेस आप दूसरे फाइल के लिए यूज कर सकते हो. दैट इज द स्पेस मैनेजमेंट. अंडरस्टूड द स्पेस मैनेजमेंट?
Yes, sir.
Shall we move further?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then file names. अभी फाइल नेम्स क्या होता है? So you can give the name to identify the particular file, to identify the storage location in the file system. So you can give the name to a particular file. So most file system have the restriction on the length of the particular file name. In some file system, file name are not case sensitive. That is, you can give the particular file means that is not a case sensitive. In other file names that are case sensitive, that is the name, that is my file and my file refer to the three separate files that are in the same directory. Some file system में क्या होता है, there is case sensitive. अभी एक ही नाम के मीन्स माई फाइल की आप दूसरी फाइल नहीं बना सकते, मीन्स ऑल लेटर्स आर कैपिटल्स. यू मे हैव दिस टाइप ऑफ अनदर नेम, M capital, then Y small, then F capital, small case, then L small case, then E small case. So my file आपने अगर फाइल बनाए तो दूसरा इस नाम का मीन्स माई फाइल जिस पे केस सेंसिटिव है. कुछ फाइल सिस्टम, कुछ फाइल डायरेक्टरी केस सेंसिटिव होती है ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में, कुछ नहीं होती है. तो अगर आपने ये बनाया है माई फाइल नाम का अगर फाइल बनाया है, कुछ नया फाइल को नाम दिया है, तो ऐसा नाम आप दूसरे फाइल को नहीं दे सकते इन द सेम डायरेक्टरी. अंडरस्टूड? that is
Yes.
in some cases
Yes, sir.
that is case sensitive, in some cases it is not case sensitive. So different operating system uses the different file naming system. Then directories, file system typically how the directories also called the folders, means you can create the folders. In that particular folders you can have the different collection of different folders. So this may be implemented by the associating the file name and the index in that particular table content, or an in a Unix file system, directory structure may be a flat, that is a linear, or allow the hierarchy where the directories may contain the subdirectories. The first file system to support the arbitrary hierarchies of the directories, and that is used in the multi-OS operating system. So this is the directories. So understood the different aspect of the file space management, file names and directories. Yes, understood.
Yes, sir.
फक्त गोरेच बोलते, बाकीचे काय कुठे गेले, झोपले काय? Yes, other students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then some of the limitation in the file system, that is converting the type of the file system. So it may be advantageous or necessary to have the file in the different file system than they currently exist. So reason include the need for the increase in the space requirement beyond the limits of the current file system. The depth of the path may need to be increased beyond its restriction of the file system. So there may be the performance or reliability consideration. So providing access to the another operating system which does not support the existing file system in another region. So you cannot convert the file type in the file system. Then long file path and the long file names. So in hierarchy, the file system files are accessed by the means of their particular path. So if you save the particular file on the D drive, and on the particular D drive you have created the folder, and that particular info folder, my folder 1, in my folder 1 you created a one file, that is my file. So if you want to access that particular file, you can access that particular file by using the particular path and that particular file name. So different file system have the different limits on the depth of that particular path. अभी file system हर operating system का अलग अलग है. So it permit you how much should be the path of that particular file location, how you can save the particular file, or is there any limit to how the depth of the file names, and how you can store that particular file in the subdirectories or the directories. So how you can access, or is there any limit to the length of the path of that particular location of the file. So the different system, different file system have the different limitation of the length of the file name, of the depth of the location of that particular file. So different file system have the different limitation. So you can, that particular file system also have the limit on the length of an individual file. So copying the file with the longer names or locating in the path of significant depth from one file system to the another may cause the undesirable result. So this depends on how the utility doing the copying the handles of the discrepancy. So here we have the finished chapter number 2. अंडरस्टूड द लिमिटेशन. क्या है फाइल सिस्टम की लिमिटेशन? फाइल टाइप आप बदल नहीं सकते, एंड यू कैन नॉट हैव द पर्टिकुलर लॉन्ग path file, the name of that particular file. Understood? So here we have finished the chapter number 2. Understood the file system?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So today we'll be stop here, and tomorrow we will have the next chapter, this chapter number 3. Understood?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes.